you guys. Let me wave to Francis real quick. All right, folks, it's 7:30 on the dot. So I'm going to go over, for you guys who just rolled in, I appreciate your time, appreciate you guys showing up. Now, right now, I'm going to go over Coach Dustin Clark's bio, right? And as I stated earlier, we have questions lined up, but you guys feel free to jump in at any time and
Ooh.
ask questions. I can switch it around if it's easier for you, Coach.
No, you're good. I had to
Okay.
take my charging cord out.
Okay. So we have Archie Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, how you doing? Shout you out there. People are rolling in, like I said. So let's go over Coach's bio. Then we'll dive into these questions. Once again, feel free to jump in with a question anytime. All right? So Coach Dustin Clark enters his 6th season as the Mets performance coach, and he will be entering his 10th season in the organization. In his previous season, he has worked with the Gulf Coast Mets, Binghamton Mets, and Las Vegas 2051. Shout out to the Las Vegas 51s. Prior to joining the Mets organization, he worked with the University of Michigan, football strength conditioning, Lafayette College, Drexel University strength conditioning programs. He's a certified registered strength conditioning coach with the NSCA. He's a certified strength and conditioning specialist. He received his master's in exercise science and bachelor's in exercise physiology from East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania. Currently, you want to update the folks on your current living situation, or I know
Sure. Yeah.
you mentioned Pennsylvania earlier, so I'll let you take
It's a
them.
little different now. So I mean, our home base is down in South Florida in Port St. Lucie, but for the time being, while we're held up a little bit, we traveled back home to good old Northeast Pennsylvania. So me and my family are currently located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So
There
a
you
little
go.
different weather than South Florida.
No doubt there, no doubt. All right, folks, you have Coach Clark's background, you have his experience. Let's dive into these questions, Coach. Dive into these
Awesome.
questions. Now, people might not be clear what exactly a strength and conditioning coach does at that level. So, would you explain to the audience your responsibilities as the head strength and conditioning coach of the New York Mets?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely evolved over time from the first time I was in Gulf Coast all the way till where I'm at now in my current position. We've developed a nice little high performance department within the organization now. So the structure is a little different. It's not just the guy in the weight room picking stuff
Hmm.
up and dropping it down. There's a great staff around me. So we have a high performance director, we have 2 athletic trainers, 2 physical therapists, myself, sports science coordinator, full-time RD, registered dietitian. We have mental performance. We have a massage therapist. So when they just talk about my position, there's a lot of people that go into my position because it's not just one guy focusing on strength and conditioning. It's kind of a holistic approach where I can do some of the stuff in the training room and we kind of bounce around
Hmm.
and we kind of play off each other a little bit more. Now to like direct role and responsibilities within the team, I'm the full-time head strength and conditioning coach. I travel with the team. I handle all the in-season and off-season strength and conditioning activities. That includes all their on-feet conditioning, all their bike conditioning. For the strength training, it includes all the weight room work, all the plyometrics, all the jumps, the med ball throws. I help out with our physical therapist with the shoulder programs and all of our prehab programs. And then when our RD is not around, we help out with some of the supplements and the nutrition program. So there's a lot that goes into the day-to-day operations because we take care of the organization has about 200 athletes, but we're a direct oversight of about 40. So yeah, so that's our direct day-to-day roles.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. I'm glad to hear that you guys have that synergy up there now. That's powerful. In my opinion, that's powerful.
It's definitely changed a little bit where the strength coach isn't on his own and the trainers aren't on their own, and we're all working together to solve problems. Because at this level, there's a lot of complex things going on.
Yep.
So it's good to get opinions from a lot of different areas, and we have a lot of good minds in our situation. So it's a pleasure to work with our department and collaborate every day. It's fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Longtime friend, Dewan Hobbs is in the building. Shout out Dewan Hobbs. Tony, who's this? Tony. Shout out to Tony. Now I want to touch on. I have another question, but you said a word that I mentioned with my guys a lot. Prehab. Could you give the guys your quick definition of prehab?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll get into the philosophy and
Okay,
stuff
okay,
of
okay.
baseball strength and conditioning. Were you able to, did I lose you there? Uh-oh, I got you. Can you hear me? All right, hold on 1 second. My voice there yet or no? All right, how we looking?
Come on back. We should be good. We should be good. I don't.
Sorry.
I don't that wasn't you, because if it was you, the volume would have came back, I think. So, audience,
We good?
coach, if that happens again, I'll just call you right back.
Huh?
All right,
Yeah,
because I'm sure that wasn't on either end. I think it was Instagram or whatever. But um, if we dive back into that question regarding
yeah,
prehab.
yeah, no problem. Can you hear me all right? Everything's
Yeah,
good
we're
now?
yeah, yeah, we're good.
Perfect. All right, yeah. So, I mean, we can get into philosophy and stuff and some of the later things we'll talk about and whatnot, but a comprehensive strength and conditioning program, a lot of different facets to it. So it has stability, mobility, conditioning, and one of those things is there's a term we call prehab, and that just filters into some of the smaller stuff that we do. So we focus on the shoulder, the hip, the ankle. So these are our smaller programs, not so much of our core lifts or our main things that we do in the weight room. So they're just additional programs that we add on, supplemental things after we do our testing on our guys. And we dive into those programs to kind of fix some deficiencies. So that's what we kind of term
Hmm.
prehab. But if I had to term it anything else, I'd just say it's good, proper training, you know?
No question, 100%. Yes, sir. All right. So we're going to talk about the next. We're going to go dive into the next question. With the pandemic situation, how are you monitoring your players at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone's staying home and staying safe because it's a crazy time. I know you guys are in a different situation down there than a lot of the rest of the country. It's been trying. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and these are times that nobody's ever seen before. You know, so we do a lot of virtual coaching, which I guess I call it, which is a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of FaceTime. Each one of our athletes at the beginning of spring training, we go through a series, battery of performance tests and physical tests, orthopedic tests, and from that we devise an individualized performance program that includes strength and conditioning, those prehab programs we talked about, any kind of medical treatment or anything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
from that, they have their individualized programs, and we've tried to continue those while they're away from the facility as best we can. We have guys all over the country. We have guys internationally in the Dominican and a lot of different places. So they have a lot of different situations. So originally we had to figure out where everybody was, what they had, what resources they had, how much time they had, everything down to the detail for all of our 60 guys that were in Major League Camp. And from there, we had to take those individualized programs and kind of marry them. So if a guy had, say, trap bar deadlifts on his workout card, and he didn't have to figure out a way to go about that. So we either attacked it from a single leg or we would just load them in a different manner. Um, but yeah, definitely a lot of
Mm-hmm.
phone calls and a lot of video coaching. So if a guy's having issues, we'll get on a video, hop on a call, and I'll go through the programs with them. Another thing we did, we shot a lot of videos of all the workouts and everything, so we have all the exercises and everything. So if a guy has an issue real quick, we can send it out to him, and we can handle it in that way. And hopefully that leads to some success when we get back, you know?
Yeah, no question, no question. Like you said, man, this is something that no one's ever seen before. That's a life in general. And then you add the aspect of pro sports and what you guys go through on a regular basis throughout the year, 162 games. This is a major curveball, but I'm sure you guys are on top of it. You're going to handle your business.
Yeah, never forget. I mean, everybody's human, you know, and they're following the same guidelines that everybody else is. Staying at home, staying safe. They're staying in. They're not going out and finding facilities and all that. These guys are training at home in their backyards, and
Mm.
they're trying to find ways to get it done, you know. So those are situations that we're working around every day, and hopefully soon we can start to get back to normal and play baseball.
No question, no question. All right, let's dive into this third question. All right, if you are told you are going back to playing baseball in 3 weeks, what is the thought process behind getting the guys ready? What kind of things would you focus on?
Yeah, so I mean, this is just general programming 101 for me. I always start at the back end and work in reverse. So I know my end goal is, so I know what I'm working towards and where I want to take these guys. But this is the problem, is that you don't know what the goal is, because it's a moving target, because there are no dates. There's nothing right now. So
Yeah,
we're kind of in a limbo, right? So if we knew we had 3 weeks, we take a look at the sport. We know what our needs analysis is for the sport. We know what our key injuries are if we're looking at obliques or hamstrings, high speed running, all these different factors. And we try to get these guys up to game demands. That's essentially what we're looking at. So say most guys run 8 to 10 high speed 90-foot efforts on the base paths. We're trying to get them up to that prior to them showing up to camp. So in those 3 weeks, we're trying to work on their basic capacities, and try to build off the strength and conditioning program that they've hopefully done for 8 weeks on their own.
okay.
Those are the main things that we're focusing on, because when they get back, there's not going to be much time, because there's going to be time to play baseball. I mean, in the end of the day, our job is to make sure these guys are ready to go, and play baseball. You guys always used to tell me the game's going to go on no matter what at 7:10, right? So
Yeah,
those
no
are
doubt.
some of the things I'll never forget back in the day when you guys would tell me that no matter what, this game's going to go on.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're working on our foundational strength. We're working on our basic aerobic capacities across the time that we were down, and now we're turning into more power and power transfer and more sport specific type movements, trying to get them ready.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you talk about power and sport specific. A lot of this is getting off for a second, all right? But a lot of guys at the lower levels, they still want to run the 20 poles and slow trotting around in the outfield. And you mentioned power, and talking to big league pitchers professional pitchers that I come across, they're saying we're getting away from the flush runs. We're getting away from the flush runs now. We're focusing more on sprinting. Would you and Francis? This is one of the guys listening right now. Francis likes to do his poles a little bit, and I know Nick, if he's still out there, Nick recently got away from those. But could you talk to the guys about sprint running compared to distance running?
Yeah, for sure. Never forget this, everything has its place in the toolbox, right? So distance running and sprinting, everything's shifting more towards sprinting and whatnot. And for probably good reasons, for a couple things we'll list here in a second. But I think there are still basic qualities. Like if you think of physical qualities that we're trying to develop as aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, different things like that, everything has its place, right? So done in the right time frame, uh, you can do anything. I mean, there's no this is right, this is wrong for these situations. And different positions on the field demand different things. So obviously, my power hitters, my first basemen are a little different than my pitchers that have to go 100 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of reasons why we kind of moved away from some of our longer, slower distances. Not saying that aerobic capacity work isn't strong quality for a pitcher to have, but there's just more efficient ways that we can go about getting our work in without the pounding on the hips, the knees, the ankles, different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget, having a strong aerobic capacity fuels the anaerobic system as well. So it allows you to have repeat efforts. So if you're not aerobically fit, you're going to run into some issues. That being said, guys that are in the back end of the bullpen and those kind of stuff that don't really tap into those systems as often might not run into as many issues as your starters that might taper out quickly. Um, but yeah, primarily with our pitchers, we have moved away from our long, slow distances, and we've moved to more interval-based work. That being said, they work on all capacities. They're working on aerobic capacity. They're working on anaerobic capacity. They're working on the phosphatidylcholine system, high-speed running. That's what a big part of developing a durable athlete is making sure they're robust.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Now that the questions are starting to roll in a little bit. We have a question from Coach B17, and he wants to know, how do you feel about dynamic stretching as opposed to static for pregame warm-ups?
Yeah, for sure. I mean that's a hot topic there. Um, there's a lot of information out there that people say static stretching, you need to stay away from it, touching your toes and whatnot. A lot of the research is long duration holds and all this kind of stuff that you kind of wouldn't see when you're on the field. But when you really get down to what's the purpose of a warm up, right? The purpose of the warm up is to get the body ready to do whatever activity it is you're trying to do. So if that activity is the pitch, your body needs to get hot and get your heart rate up and your blood flowing, and your muscles loose and warm to get ready to pitch. So typically those are dynamic and ballistic movements. I mean, we still do a little bit of static stretching within our warm up, but I'd say 90 to 95% of our warm-ups are more dynamic, getting the guys moving, getting them into positions that they're going to see out on the field. And for me, the warm-up is a perfect time to work on certain qualities and deficiencies that you normally don't have time to work on. Because as you know, the purpose of our job, the purpose of the athlete is to play their sport. So if I want to work on linear speed mechanics and skipping A skip, B skip, different things like that, I slide those into the warm up in place of a static touch your toes kind of hamstring stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we still do static stretching. We still do flexibility training, mobility training in the weight room, part of our lifting sessions, pre-session, post-session. But if I'm trying to get the guys ready in an efficient manner on the field, I look for what's my biggest bang for buck. If I have 45 minutes to stretch the guys out, which I know not many people do, I typically have 10 to 15 minutes to get the guys hot.
No doubt.
So I have to pick and choose my battles, and sometimes those battles are worth more change of direction or different things like that.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. We have another one from my man, Tim Cook, .5815. Appreciate you guys' participation. Now, are you having your guys closer to sport-specific work or GPP at the moment?
No, that's a very good question. I mean, our general prep phase, when we first got put on hold, it was kind of in a weird state. Like I said, nobody's ever seen this before, so nobody knew if we were going to be down 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or anything like that. So we kind of had to play it by ear the first couple of weeks, and we kind of continued the phases that we were currently in because we were 2 weeks out from getting ready to play the regular season. So once we got the first 2 weeks, I think it was, then we kind of put them into I run little 4-week micro phases. So we put them back into kind of like a little strength phase. And now that as we get closer, we have to kind of get ready to put them back into a power transfer phase. Because, I mean, if you just do simple linear progressions, you go from your general prep, you go into what you'd say would be a hypertrophy phase, which would be if you increase the cross-sectional area of a muscle, it's a bigger muscle, right? So a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. So you go into a strength phase. A stronger muscle is a more powerful muscle. That's a very simplistic way to think of it. As you get closer to actually playing the game, they need to be ready to play the game and understand the demands. And we have a pretty good staff behind us that understands the needs analysis of each position, and we know what we need to attack for each guy. But yeah, we will transition more. I call it a power transfer phase prior to.
Yep. All right. One of the clients has stepped up with a question. All right. How do first basemen like Pete Alonso work during this pandemic? That's from little L722, aka the light-skinned CC Sabatia. You got it? Want me to read that again? That was long-winded on my part.
I'll I'll just say this: all of our guys are working the same. They do a great job. They put a lot of effort in. They care about the team. They care about playing. Um, they're good guys.
Okay. Sounds good. I found another one. Another client, my man Showtime Nick. What's your take on icing? Uh-oh, it's a good one. What's your take on icing or heating your arm after pitching, after an outing, as well as running after you pitch?
Nice. Yeah. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
address the first piece of that question. Some stinger questions there where you can get in a little bit of trouble. Um,
Fair
so like I
enough.
said, same thing with the stretching and same thing with the dynamic versus ballistic versus static and all these different things. Everything has
Okay.
its place, right? So heat has its place, cold has its place. Sometimes it depends. I've come over the years. I've learned it comes down to the individual. The physiology is going to tell you
Yep.
one thing, yeah, but the individual is going to tell you another. And sometimes if a guy, the physiology might not always be there to support some icing and stuff post, but if the individual feels better after that, then hey, that might be something that they might explore. But I would always consult with our medical or ATC or our physical doctors for those kind of situations on that side of it. I kind of stayed within my scope a little bit. And the second part of that question was the
Running after you pitch.
yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, it depends. There's a lot of it depends, right? So, I mean, it depends on the age, the training status, a lot of different things. So I'm not going to tell a high school kid probably to go out and run after his outing. I tell my guys always to leave it on the field, you know. So in season, when they come out from outings, our starters, unless they've had a quick outing for some odd reason where it's 20, 30 pitches, they're not going to top off conditioning. Um, in spring training, we do a lot of running post to
Mm-hmm.
build up their work capacity. Because, like I said, we need to get guys up to their needs analysis of what they're going to see every day in their day to day sport and pitching or position. You know, so we need to make sure they get the top off those physical qualities. And if they're not getting those in the games, yeah, we do a little bit of conditioning post. That being said, high school, youth, I mean, I probably wouldn't recommend it because I think there's certain times where you can pick and choose your battles because your guys aren't playing every day. But
Mm-hmm.
you would refer to your strength coach or whoever you guys have around to kind of schedule it out for you a little bit better.
Okay, there you have it, Nick. There you have it. Now, where are we? Okay. So what would a pitcher do the next day after a start? Hey, okay, they're rolling in all these
Okay.
they're flying in here. So let's get that. Let's go back to our original list because I want to talk about the question number 4, and that is from the strength and conditioning perspective, what are the major differences between youth, high school, college, and pro athletes?
Yeah, for sure. This question right here we can spend about 4 hours on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely a good topic to talk about. Physiologically, each one of those groups are all in different spots, right? So everybody's muscles, their joints, everything is in a different spot in development. So what we usually talk about is a long-term athletic development plan. And if we have guys that say we start with the youth and we'll just categorize that as 10, and then high school, we just kind of work our way up. There's certain qualities that we're looking for from each, right? So when I'm looking at more of a youth or a high school, I'm looking to develop more like aerobic capacities. I'm going to have develop my overall fundamental system. And then as we get up the chain, going to college and pro athletes, we get more and more refined because that if you think of everything as a peak, right? So there's a broad base
Yep.
of youth sports and everything kind of works its way up. So as they get to that top and even get to the Olympic athletes, they're working on specific things to get them better, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a youth athlete, I'm working on all of my qualities. I'm working on my movement mechanics. I'm working on just foundational strength work. I'm working on basic rotational power, building some core capacity, you know, and there's more of a general broad brush. And as, like I said, as you move up through the ranks, you're more specific and more specific to the sport because in the youth, and we could talk about this a little bit later with some of the injury stuff and all that kind of stuff, but the more cross training and the more exposure you have to a lot of different things and movements and you increase, I call it your movement library, the better off you're going to be when you get to college and pro sports. You're not just going to be a rotational athlete. You're actually going to be an athlete that has played multiple sports and it'll show later on down the road.
That's a great answer, man. Especially towards the end, because that's what a lot of people need to hear that or be reminded of that. Because it's like there's so much of the sports specific training concept that is prevalent. I'd say maybe all sports, but travel baseball. you know, and to hear that coming from a big league strength coach is very important for me. Guys playing multiple sports, changing directions, being more explosive, and just flat out being in different environments. Being in playing situations is something that you guys that it would benefit you guys to experience that. I'm not going to tell you, to go left or right or whatever, but it's it can be beneficial. Let's say that. Leave it at that.
I always say to have fun, right? I mean, I didn't learn how to jump by jumping on a plow box. I learned how to jump because I probably fell out of a tree, climbing a tree, doing something
Yeah,
crazy or throwing something, picking it up. But that being said, that's not saying that we can't learn. I mean, how to jump on a plow box. It's just meaning give yourself the opportunity to do a lot of different things. Learn how to tumble, learn how to skip, learn how to do a lot of things. There's a lot of kids that I come across that don't know how to skip. I mean, and don't know how to run backwards, don't know how to go
yeah.
from backwards to forward, change directions. And that's not even a highly complex thing. That's just basic movement patterns.
Yeah, no question, no question. That's a whole nother discussion in itself. You start talking about video games and the world we live in, yada yada yada. We can't get into that here. So I have another question for Tim Cook. It's a short one, so we'll go with this one. How do you manage strength and power in season?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. And
Hmm.
in my current situation, we're in a situation where we want to win, right? So everything's meant towards a performance mindset where we're trying to win every night. Um, we still train. We still train 2 to 3 times a week. I try to train at least 3 times a week with our position players, even our pitchers. And I call it the slow drip or flexible periodization, where it depends a lot on their workload and their game load that they're currently experiencing, because you can't overload the system, right? So you're still trying to
Mm-hmm.
train, you're doing all these things, and a lot of people think when like, oh, you lift in season, that means you see a lot of these big bodybuilding workouts and all this different things. It's not like that at all. Our training sessions might be 10 to 15 minutes. They might be 2 exercises and 6 sets total. So they're
Mm-hmm.
very high intensity, but the volume and the workload is very low. So you're still getting that neural aspect of it, and you're maintaining your strength. And sometimes you even can increase strength if you properly plan and you fit things in certain places where guys have days off or they're not going to get worked as much. When I was in the minor leagues, it's a little bit different because it's more of a developmental system, right? So we're there to kind of develop them physically along with winning. Winning is part of the development, but we're trying to develop their bodies physically. So it is okay to push them a little bit more. The volume might be up a little bit more, but you're still paying attention to what's going on the field, because in the end of the day, it is all about the sport. I mean, we're there for baseball. Without the players, we don't have jobs.
No question, no question. All right. So many young pitchers. Going into the next question. Many young pitchers want to increase their velocity. What three key factors should a young pitcher be aware of when attempting to increase velo?
It's a hot topic, right?
Mm, big
That's a
time.
crazy, that's a crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to pick a couple things that I would focus on, right, just right out the chute, and just talking about increasing velo and just that topic in general, I would just say focus on fundamental strength. And what do I mean by fundamental strength? So there's certain movement patterns that I think are very important: squat, hinge, push, pull, different thing, carrying. Um, so if we can focus on getting you stronger, because that is that. If we talk about the performance period, everything is built off a foundation of strength, right? So if we can get your body stronger, we're going to be in a good position. And the second can be movement patterns. So if we can get you moving properly and we can get you squatting and hinging and teaching you how to use the power in your lower half to actually generate force, you're going to be in a lot better position. And three is follow an actual comprehensive strength and conditioning program. That being said, that means, yes, you're going to strength train. Yes, you're going to condition. Yes, you're going to do a plyometric program. Yes, you're going to do a med ball program. Because at the end of the day, never forget this: there is no magic pill. There's not one program that is going to change your velo. Don't ever think that, like, I'm going to do this shoulder tubing program and it's going to give me a couple ticks. And that's where you get into trouble, right? So that's where you start going down these rabbit holes. And a good strength and conditioning program that helps increase your performance has a lot of different factors in it. And
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of contributing things that go into that. That might be a good prehab program, a good shoulder maintenance program, a good plyometric program, a good strength and conditioning program in a whole. But never forget, there are no magic pills. You're not going to pick up a weighted baseball and just start increasing velo. It just doesn't happen like that. So you need to ask the professional you're with. I'm sitting on the other side of the screen here with, that your coach, whoever you're around, and get a little guidance and kind of see if it's the right situation for you to start a program, or to how to go about increasing your velo. Hope that
Okay.
answered.
Oh, it does, because you're never going, like you say, you're never going to get the magic pill question that a lot of people want, a lot of kids want. And I see the kids. I always look at it from the perspective of, you watch ESPN, you see Jake DeGrom on the mound hitting 90, whatever, looking, so smooth and fluent. Man, okay, I can do that. Yeah. What about the days in between where Jake's busted it? What about that? What about that off season when he's busted it? What about his meal plan? All these things. We have to factor all that in. And in my position, I just try to teach the kids to start thinking that way.
Yeah, and any little edge and any little thing that you can do, it goes into an overall mindset of how you want to approach life in general. Like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be the guy that does 75% of what he could be doing to be great at whatever that may be that you find happiness in, or do you
Hmm.
want to dive in? So you can really sit down and talk to a professional like yourself and say, hey, what could I be doing better? Can I fix my nutrition? Can I spend more time here, more time there, um, to kind of enhance where I want to be?
Sounds, yes, sir. I'm just reading some of these. There's a lot of questions, man. These people are very engaged right now. People are still rolling in, man. That's awesome. All right. So, next question. What do you recommend for position players seeking to improve their power? We kind of talked about that, right?
We kind of talked about it a little bit, but I
Uh,
can go a little bit more in depth for it. Um, for all of our guys, it comes down to, I mean, I'm going to repeat it again. It comes down to a base level of strength. People think I'm crazy, but your lower half needs to be strong, and you need to. You might start out with your body weight. You might start out with isometric holds. It doesn't matter where you start out with. I'm not saying you're going to be deadlifting 600 pounds, but your lower body strength really is a strong piece of this puzzle, right? So you'll still get guys that do have strong rotational power that don't have the lower body strength, and that's a possibility. But those are most likely your guys that are outliers, right?
mm-hmm.
Wherever you are on that continuum, you develop your lower body strength and you develop your overall body strength, your trunk and your core strength, your upper body strength, your forearms, your hands, and that's the basis of all good power hitters, right? It's just an overall strong frame. From there, there's specific things that we do to increase rotational power, and it's just simple stuff like plyometrics, which are different kinds of jumps, and we'll also do some med ball work, which are rotational throws and different things like that. We work on different parts of the force velocity continuum where we use a heavier ball or a lighter ball, or a heavier trap bar versus a lighter trap bar. And that goes into playing where I talked about the foundation, the hypertrophy, the strength, what we can call like a speed strength, the power transfer. And each one of those has different qualities that'll contribute to your power output. And then also, baseball's a skill. So there's a big mechanics piece to this, right? So if you work with your hitting professional and whatnot, to kind of clean up your lower half mechanics and your hands, that'll also increase your rotational power, because it is a sport, so it's not just a physical piece to it.
There you go. There you go. I have questions still rolling in. They're pretty specific.
Yeah,
So let's finish the list, and like I'll pick out ones that I feel you can answer. You know what I mean?
that's cool. Whatever you
All
got.
right. All right. So young players deal with chronic injuries during their travel baseball season. Anyone can say get stronger, get stretch. What are injury prevention hacks players, parents, and coaches might be overlooking?
Yeah. My biggest thing is I even tell it to the grown men that I deal with every day. consistency,
Mm.
right? So consistency is one of the number one things that you kind of lack sometimes because life catches up with you. Um, and everything speeds out of control where you might get into your travel ball season and you're playing every day and then you're like, I haven't lifted in like 3 weeks or I haven't trained in 3 weeks, right? So it's proper balance of being consistent in everything and understanding and having a good schedule um, into what's going on. That being said, is you have to listen to your body and you have to listen to what's going on. So sometimes too much is too much. When you really think about it and you take a step back and you go, wow, I'm playing a lot, or how do I fit this in, or I'm struggling with school, and you need to sit back and understand what's really important for you guys. Um, and sometimes less is more in that sense, and that still is consistency, right? So you still have a consistent approach to what you're trying to accomplish. Um, but a lot of our issues are in just general consistency with strength training, with conditioning, with nutrition, with our technical side of it. So you can clean up a lot just by handling your business and being on a schedule and being organized. The second thing is, like I said, is listening to your body and understanding where you are at each day and knowing when enough is enough and when you need to take a little bit of a break and being okay with taking a break.
Okay. I want to get my opinion on this too, because going back to the magic pill concept, I don't think these kids that are asking these questions are looking for that magic pill, but they're looking at things from, with that laser focus when you need to be looking at things from this scope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So really, Coach Clark is giving you guys, yeah, he's answering your questions, but take in the concept. He's not saying run, 15 gases to throw 90. He's not saying that. You can run 15, 30-yard gases all you want, but are you strong enough to engage your lower half when you're on the mound? You know, do you have the like endurance to, go 7 innings? He's speaking from a scope that you guys need to start thinking of. Not that you're not thinking that way, but remain with those concepts. Stick with those concepts of covering all aspects of strength conditioning or performance. You know, there's a mental aspect as well. We're not going to get into that because it's not our thing, but there's a mental aspect as well. You have to encompass all of this to be the best, to perform at the highest level on the field. So I want you. These are the guys I work with. I really want you guys to. You're hearing it from a top guy. You hear it from a major league strength conditioning coach. Keep the concepts that he's preaching to you guys. Keep that mentality and approach the game as such. All right.
So when you look at it
So.
from that big view, right, and then you focus
Mm-hmm.
in, I always tell even the coaches, live where your feet are, right? Own your day, own what you're trying to accomplish that day, know what you're trying to accomplish that day, and stay focused on that. And that's where you get laser focused in on. So if
Mm-hmm.
you do a workout session today, I'm all into whatever you're telling me to do. I'm not missing a set, I'm not missing a rep, and that's my laser focus into that. Um,
Exactly.
that's just the approach.
Yep. Yep. Say, I'm gonna give you an example of one of the specific questions. Francis asked this: what do you recommend for tall guys trying to improve their speed?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure on limb length or anything like that on you, Francis, but
Mm.
that plays a part into it, right? So this is down to movement efficiency, and there's guys. I mean, you look at Usain Bolt, and you look at some of these guys. There's big guys that are fast, and it doesn't mean you can't be fast. It doesn't mean anything at all. I mean, it just means you need to have a laser focused approach on your strength training because most fast athletes are strong, and if they're not strong, they're technically proficient. There's some genetically gifted athletes that are fast, and they can just turn their legs to go. But beyond the strength and conditioning, the strength part, plyometrics, and the specific programming things you could do, there's different technique-based things you can do as far as I call linear speed mechanics, which are skipping mechanics, A skips, B skips, different things like that that'll kind of possibly put you in a good position mechanically, just like if you're a pitcher or a hitter trying to mechanically be in a sound position to throw or to hit, they might put you in a better position to kind of clean up your form to kind of get you in a spot that you want to be in.
Mm-hmm. All right, there you go. Here's a question from Mr. Vaughn. What can substitute squatting when you don't have all the equipment to increase velo?
100%, yeah. So you don't need, I mean, we proved it in the last 8 weeks. You don't need equipment to train. It's just about being creative and understanding how the human physiology works. The first 4 weeks of a program could be just straight isometric holds, which that means if I'm going to do a split squat, I go down to the bottom of the split squat, I come up about an inch, and I do isometric holds because time under tension, your muscles don't understand sets and reps, they understand tension, neural tension, right? So you can do
Yeah.
different things in that sense. You don't have to push. We don't do a lot of axial, putting bars on guys' backs or different stuff like guys that aren't ready for it. But we still strength train, right? So we do single leg squats, we do split squats, rear foot elevated squats. There's 1,000 different ways to skin the cat. It's not the exercise; it's the loading mechanics of how you go about it.
100%. People still rolling in. Flip Jet, shout out. Who else we have? Tony Armans. Tony Armas. Wow, Tony Armas. Shout out to Tony Armas. And we have Turk Botke, IFBB Pro, all still in here hanging out with us, Coach. They're still hanging with us. Um, so what else do we have? Give us your best baseball story.
I mean, if I had to give, it's a tough question because every day is a pleasure to be in the big leagues. I mean, I'm grateful every day I arrive to Citi Field or be at the park. This is somebody that you and I were best friends with. We get to wear our pajamas to work every day. Another one.
Mhm.
But if I had to say one thing that I'll never forget is 2015, my first year being in the World Series. I mean, that by far is my greatest memory. I'll never forget that. We were in a lot of great ballparks, and we were allowed to win a lot of playoff series in some big ballparks out in LA, in Chicago, and then bringing it back. Unfortunately, we weren't able to finish the job, but hopefully we can turn that corner. But yeah, being in the World Series, nothing can compete with that unless winning the World Series.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Tim Cook, he asked some good questions. So here's another one from him. How specific are you with acceleration mechanics, or do you let athletes be athletes and tweak movement?
All right. Yeah. So
Okay.
if we're thinking about just straight acceleration mechanics, there are certain mechanical things that I'm looking for, and we have a checklist that we kind of look for with shin angle and different attack angles and stuff like that. And those are the basics, right? So we have 4 or 5 basics that we're trying to accomplish with each guy. Not everybody's going to fit into that mold, and the way one guy steals a base is not the same as the other guy steals the base. But we still try to give them all the same basic tools to put them in the proper position to do that. And then once the game takes over, they're going to kind of go back to what's comfortable, right? But that doesn't mean we can't try to help them get into those proper positions to make what's comfortable become efficient. So we are very broad in general in our specific warm-ups and different things like that. And then the guys that we need to be specific with, we'll pull them out. So if they're a base stealer or anything like that, we'll pull them out and we'll go over specific mechanics. So say we're taking breaks and leads and things like that. We teach the mechanics specific to the guy. So if he's a bigger guy or a smaller guy, we put him in anatomical positions that are biomechanically sound to get him out and what he's efficient with. Because everybody's body is different. Everybody's hips are different. Everybody's ankles are dealing with different limitations. So the way they achieve something is going to be way different. And sometimes at this level, a tick means a lot. So
Good
you see
question.
guys throw like a tick, I call it a tick, but it's just a second, right? So just to
Mm-hmm.
snap your fingers, that's the difference between safe and out. That might just be an arm swing. That might just be keeping your knee up or your toe up or something small. It's not just completely overhauling something because they got there for a reason. So we're not going to overhaul a lot of things. But if they're another thing we might look at is if they're injury prone. If they're injury prone, yeah, we are going to probably overhaul a lot of things because that could be one of the reasons why they're injury prone, overstriding, all the different things.
Yep.
But we give to answer the question, we give everybody a general base of acceleration mechanics, and then guys that need specifics, we go into specifics, and we kind of treat them like track athletes a little bit, specific to what they're trying to do.
Yeah. All right. I want to go back to a client, Nick. I think you should. I think you can answer this one. So, what would a pitcher do the next day after a start?
So this has kind of changed over the years, right? So we're trying to figure out what the right structure is, and in our level, a lot of guys that we have some individualized routines for certain guys. In the past, it's been that long, slow run, the lower body lift, and all those. That's a big day for us, right? Because we still have 4 days or whatever, 3 days to recover. The day after the start, depending on what your rotation or your situation looks like, We use it more as a recovery day. So we do some aerobic activity, whether that means mobility circuits or flexibility circuits. We kind of use it to reset the body. It's a more lower volume day for us now, less impacts, and then the following day is a more higher volume. So if we look at like a high-low method, it'd be really high intensity. The following day is a low intensity. The next day is a high intensity. And we kind of alternate it because if you don't give your body time to recover, it kind of shuts off. And over the course of the year, if you're competitively banging your head against the wall, you're eventually going to peter out. And so that is a little bit of a recovery day kind of for us. And when I say recovery day, it's not like you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. Those days are intense. You're going to sweat. You're going to get your heart rate up into certain heart rate zones, and we're going to work for an hour and a half. But it's not the days where we're loading our lower bodies and we're kind of letting the body recover a little bit.
Okay. Here's another client. Shout out to Sean Douglas. Sean wants to know, this is diving into nutrition a little bit. What is a good age to start working out and taking supplements?
So working out, I would definitely consult with whoever your trainer is, your strength coach is, because they know your situation, and obviously your medical doctor, because they're going to know your physical situation as well. But strength training is universal. Everybody can get involved and be a part of movement. This doesn't mean you're lifting heavy weights or anything like that. This could be something as simple as being able to do a squat, or being able to do something as crazy as a handstand or a push-up or some sit-ups, or being able to hang. And starting to develop those physical qualities is just so important at a young age. So whatever you can do to be physically active, that's strength training. Don't think of strength training as hopping on a chest press machine and banging out 500 pounds, So there's different ends of the spectrum. So you can start, but it has to be in a responsible manner. And then as far as supplements, that is a little bit outside of our scope, dealing with nutrition a little bit. But if I had to give any kind of recommendations, I would be primarily a food-based diet. I mean, that being said, we get a lot of good stuff from fruits, vegetables, and just natural foods. Not a huge fan of supplements unless you need them. Question could be directed somewhere else, but I mean, I'm definitely a food first approach.
No question. I get that question a lot. Kids are so busy. Like, I'd say most of the kids I have come through, they probably come through twice a week, rarely, like 3 times a week seems like a week, the mentality, it's like a big league guy will come in, Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's what it feels like when a young guy comes in twice a week. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. You get a guy in there 3 times, you are pulling off miracles at that point, So that's why the kids are looking into supplements, because it's just hard to get 3 or 4 in a day, complete meal. So
yeah, for sure. And you can do stuff as simple as chocolate milk, and if you can handle it, because we can go at calories if you're just trying to get calories and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely tough, especially with the schedule some of these kids are pulling off and their parents are pulling off.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main thing, man. Let's see if we have any more here. I might be done with mine. Prevention. Got it rolling through here. What's a good start work? What is a good age to start? Okay, you already talked about that one. I'm scrolling back. I might have missed some.
Problem?
Seeing more kids working out. We talked about that. What can pitchers do to retain arm mobility, and what can pitchers do to retain arm mobility?
I mean, that's a interesting question, right? So to maintain our mobility depends on what your baselines are. So we take each one of our athletes in general through a pretty comprehensive screening process, right? So some guys need stability, some guys need mobility, some guys need strengthening of their rotator cuff, some guys need their scaps are locked, and we're doing different kind of movements with those guys. So based off what their screens are and what they tell us, that's the kind of actual programs we're going to devise for them. And then when it comes down to like the day after routine, depending on how that guy reacts to the stimulus of pitching and throwing, because everybody has a different reaction to, we just structure the lifts a little differently, right? So if a guy has trouble and he's tight the day after, we're probably going to to stay away and kind of back down a little bit, give them a lower day, and move them to the next day. And there's different recovery modalities that you can do to kind of get your body back, which is low aerobic activity, movement. So that's dynamic warm-ups, that's mobility circuits, that's just body weight circuits in general, not actually physically taxing your body to the max, and that'll kind of open everything up, because a lot of times blood flow and circulation will kind of help a lot of our issues that we're having the day after from any kind of activity, even if it's just intense exercise.
Yeah. No question. No question. I'm still scrolling, Coach.
No worries.
Got icing. We already talked about that. My man, well, Lil E asked another question. I'm just this my guy, so I have to answer it. All right. What's the best workout? What's the best workout to up your velo for pitching? We kind of talked about that, but I told him earlier today I was gonna get him in.
I'll answer any questions you want, man. Yeah, stay consistent with your strength training. Be consistent on the day every time you go in the gym. Focus on your lower body, get your lower body strong. Do some good core training, and be consistent and be comprehensive in what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. I like that word, comprehensive, guys. This goes back to the big picture concept or mentality. I think you said it best. You're looking at it from the bird's eye view, but when it comes down to work to hit the weight room, work on your baseball skill, whatever it is, that's when you lock in. And can you lock in properly if you didn't address these fundamentals? If you didn't address all aspects of athleticism? Can you can you efficiently focus? I say no, right? Because you have to master this view before you master this view, right? So it's very important to, maintain this, but lock in with that focus. And that starts with consistency, right? And finishes with consistency.
Crazy.
Yep. What's your take on agility training for pitchers? We have 6 minutes, fellas. You got that one, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Agility training, I mean, we'll call it multi-directional or whatnot, being able to change directions. I'm a big fan on getting even the highest level of athletes to get outside their comfort zone and do things, because a lot of times what we're trying to do is to undo what we see on the field, right? So they're doing a repetitive motion. So we'll use agility training as, I mean, that's one way to term it, but we use multi-directional training or agility training to kind of get them out of certain ruts and expose them to things that they weren't normally being exposed to from the game. That being said, agility training could be anything. It could be anything from an agility ladder all the way up to being able to react to a chaotic environment, right? So that's 9 times out of 10 actually truly agility training and not just going through an agility ladder. We do cone drills and all that kind of stuff, because I think it's important to be in a structured environment to teach how to cut, different kind of mechanics. And then from that environment, we'll take them into a chaotic environment when they have to react to certain things, which is PFPs or pitching fielding practice and different things like that. So I think agility is a big key. That's another piece of the puzzle, not just sprinting, running, all these different things. And you'll start to realize how comprehensive some of these programs are, because they're thinking of a lot of different factors. And that's definitely a big factor in our training.
There's another good word, comprehensive, consistency. It's always come back to the basics, apples and oranges, eat your fruits, get your sleep, drink your water.
The detail. Don't let anything slide. Be great.
Exactly. And now I'm glad you mentioned things such as PFP. This is a drill I like to do. It's an old school drill with Vern way back when. The star drill, I like to get them in the middle, move them around. Then we progress to simulating the plays, It's great I'm happy that you brought that up, because, it might be a little boring to the guys at time, but our old boss, Nitro, he used to, it's like he was taking notes on every player, but the guys would always say the day before when they did that agility, they felt it the next day on the field when they had to make that play, bounce off the mound, make that throw to first, whatever the case may be, So agility, it might seem a little mundane for you guys, but hey, we're being comprehensive and we're being consistent with it. Bottom line, people still rolling in. How's it going, Wade?
That's still just a structured piece, right? So that's structured agility. And agility has another piece of just being able to react. And being just chaotic reaction time and just being able to understand and react to your situation live. So that's just another piece to it.
Yeah,
We train both facets of it, so I think you can't leave any stone unturned.
exactly. Down to 3 minutes. We got the squatting question. Now here's okay. What is the work ethic like for some of your top players?
And I mean, like I said, all of our guys work hard to get to this level. They have to work hard. They're elite athletes, and they're playing. There's not many. There's only a certain number of positions at the top level. And as you work your way up the pyramid, sometimes work ethic and things like that weed certain guys out. And but 9 times out of 10, you got some of the hardest working guys, and they're laser focused on what they're trying to do because they're some of the most competitive guys. Because they want to win, and winning is fun, and that's their main goal.
No question. And I'll say this just from the old school, perspective. The work ethic is everything because you could vouch for this back in the minor league side. A lot of times coaches don't have to cut players, don't have to release players. That lack of work ethic, that lack of whatever the case may be, you cut yourself, you release yourself.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
so you have to have that work ethic. Yes, you can when you're gifted athletically like these guys are, you might be able to get up there just off of athleticism, but staying there, the game changes. The game changes because everybody is you, right? Everybody is you, and then that takes us back to the encompassing. Everybody's you up there, but who can have that stable foundation allow them to hit that laser focus consistently for 10 years to maintain that, to stay at the major league level, you know?
There's, there's only so many spots, right? So there's only so many spots on a travel ball team. There's only so many spots on a college team, on a high school team. It depends on where you want to be. If you want that to be your limiting factor, if you want your genetic ability to be your limiting factor, there's things you control the controllable. I hate throwing out all these terms, but we use them all the time. Control the controllable. And determination, hard work, that's a controllable for me.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. All right, I'm gonna see if I have anything. It looks like if I don't have anything, Coach, we're right on time. We're right at 8:30. Scrolling through to see if I missed anybody. Francis got him a couple times. Nick got him. Jalen had some good questions, but I think he left, or at least some good statements. More concentrated work, the more you grow. More concentrated work, the more you grow. Okay. Need this one. Let's see. Strength and speed, answer that. Creatine, supplements. What is it? We talked about icing. Are you having your guys closer, spell specific, dynamic stretching? I don't know, Coach. All right, well, I might just shut it down with my Boomstick 13. Welcome to the building. We're about to shut it down, but we are glad you stopped by. So, Coach, I'm gonna paint a picture for you. It's not much different for your picture. These guys might get a call any day to say, okay, we got to be ready. Tournament start in 3 weeks. What do you recommend that these guys can do to be ready to perform at a high level on their field?
I mean, with that understanding, this is a crazy time, and understanding that call is going to come, not being caught on your heels or anything like that. Take every day and make sure you accomplish your goals for that day and stay on task, right? So when that call does come, you are ready. You're not just waiting for a call. You're expecting it, So make sure you're handling your business each day and whatever you have on task, whether that be strength training or playing catch or whatever it may be, make sure you handle that daily and not just be waiting, sitting there going, oh, I'll take care of business once I get the phone call. Because half the time that's too late. And then that goes back to that dedication thing to what you're trying to do. There's only so many spots, and there's a lot of guys that are ready, and you can't forget that.
No question, guys. No question. Great answer, Coach. And man, that's it, man. That was a lot of knowledge right there. I was getting compliments all the way through. My man, the guy I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna read you what, if I can find him. Read you what my man Jalen said. If I can find that compliment. If I can't. Gotta go. This was good stuff. Then he he starts bringing up football. But, he said, I guess he's a football guy. He says, notify me when you're speaking football specifics. I'm giving you a follow, D. Clark. God bless you all. Keep blessing the youth. I think he said it all right there.
Yeah,
Right? Great way to end it, man. But I appreciate your time. We appreciate your time. And, man, we'll talk on the side. If you got some free time down the road, we can see what we can do.
love it, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And if you have any questions, you could ask Coach, and he'll know how to get in touch. So we're always around. Good luck, and keep working hard.
All
Stay
right.
safe.
All right, man. Appreciate your time. And everybody, appreciate you guys showing up. You guys have a great upcoming weekend. We are out.
Thanks, guys. Later.
Take it easy, Coach.